Welcome to the Double Doinkers Fantasy Football Podcast with Nick Meyer and Willie J. This week we are bringing you our Week 8 coverage, our second half breakouts, and all the other fun stuff we'd like to talk about during this. So, welcome. I hope you're listening. I hope you enjoy. How are you doing, Willie?
I'm doing pretty good. I really enjoyed Week 7. It was a good week. I think there's at least two games that are arguably two of the best of the season.
I was watching this week, and as far as fantasy scores go, I kind of thought, and I know someone will disagree with me because there are a few donuts out there, but I was like, this is what I imagined the fantasy scores would look like when I started the season. Like the players and the teams that were scoring and doing well against certain defenses looked like exactly who I thought. This is the first week that I was like, well, that's the normal football. We're back.
For some specific players that are Jamar Chase would be a great example.
Mhm.
Devonta Smith, AJ Brown. A lot of receivers, I feel like finally, and not Jameson Williams, but others.
No, there are definitely players where I know someone in the who's listening is going, no, you're wrong. They all suck. This is the worst. And that's probably fair. I feel like the offenses are starting to gel more, and even if that doesn't mean the offenses are good, they're starting to click and things are starting to get better as far as time management. What I always noticed at the beginning of seasons is games zoom by, and I feel like that's them like feeling it out, and then near the end they start getting better at figuring out how to slow things down when the teams are behind and when they need to slow it down.
Yeah, and they can kind of chew the clock faster and actually get more out of their players.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw it with the Denver Broncos and the way they won this one. I despise Sean Payton, and I don't like the Broncos very much, but I have to give credit where it's due. Sean Payton had a masterclass of time management, and Bo Nix just kicked into gear in the fourth quarter and looked amazing. And it's crazy because how can Bo Nix look so bad and then look so good in the same game?
He really is a puppet of Sean Payton. So if the first 3 quarters of that game, Sean Payton's coaching was off, the Giants had tricks up their sleeves. The defensive line was, for the Giants was actually really showing up. And then Sean Payton really had to kick it into high gear, and he did. And then Bo Nix just is his little puppet, that's how I picture it.
I think at the end of the third quarter, you can see Sean Payton pacing and talking about something very intensely, and I was like, oh, this game isn't over. Sean Payton has a plan. He thinks he can win this, and sure enough, they did. And it was crazy because I don't really love refs. I think they do a lot of bad things and have a bunch of bad calls. And New York got one of the worst pass interference calls for them that I've seen.
I forget what play that was on. I think I remember reading about it though.
Yeah, it was at the 1 or 2 yard line, and the player turned around to play the ball and still got the pass interference. It looked like a perfectly defended pass, and they're like, pass interference. Jackson Dart scores, and
once he scored, I thought it was over. Yeah.
How could it not be over, right? There's no time left, and then of course they missed the extra point.
and that's when I was like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I was like, this is all set up so perfectly for them. There's no way they lose at this point. They have to feel that. And then Cortland Sutton got that final, clutch catch.
Of course, it was him. Yeah, I feel like even if he had made the point, it still would have gone to overtime. And I don't see the Giants winning in overtime.
There's no even if Jackson Dart can take his helmet off and scream at the fans for 20 minutes, they had lost the momentum at that point because you can't let a team score over 30 points in one quarter and then still feel good going into the next quarter.
Yeah.
Just a wild game. I'm sure that if you are listening to this, you've heard a lot of people talk about this at this point. So, it was great to watch, though.
I do want to say, Nick, do you ever have teams in the NFL that maybe you're kind of neutral on, but either because of fantasy players or just over time you start to gravitate towards them in games? I just feel like slowly over time I've really started to like the New York Giants, and I can't really explain why, but I get excited when they're good. I don't really know why. It's not because of Brian Daboll. It's not because of New York. It's just, I don't know. I think maybe I do like Jackson Dart a lot as a player. I just think the Giants are a team that some of my earliest memories of football are when they were really good and winning the Super Bowl. So to see them maybe slowly starting to come back and get that franchise guy, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm liking the Giants this year.
No, that's totally fair. I actually have two teams that I would say are like that. One is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Weirdly enough,
You can see that.
I love finding like the diamond in the rough, and over the years, Jaguars have always had a player that's a diamond in the rough player.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just end up watching a ton of Jaguars. Blake Bortles won me a championship one year. How can I hate that? Can't hate that. Um,
Who's your diamond in the rough for the Jags this year?
Oh, jeez, the diamond in the rough for the Jags this year is a lot harder because the players that are actually good are kind of the ones you might have expected. So ETN would be an easy answer, but I am just still holding out hope on Hunter
Yeah.
and thinking that he could have the second half resurgence, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit here. Especially BTJ is hurt.
Defensively, I like Devin Lloyd a lot this year.
Their defense looks fantastic too. They haven't always been great to play in fantasy because they do give up points, but they seem to be really clutch when it matters.
They seem well coached. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And Liam Cohen is he's such a goober, just based on his interviews that it's hard not to like kind of want him to succeed. I wish Mike McDaniel was good because then we could have two Florida teams with just the weirdest coaches. Unfortunately, I don't think Mike McDaniel's long for the Dolphins at this point. And I'm sure he knows that.
I don't think Todd Bowles really has much of a personality either. So
Todd Bowles is funny because his interviews always end in like 3 seconds, almost no matter what you ask him. He's like, "We did good. Okay, bye."
yeah, I can't even think of what his voice sounds like.
It's not what you'd expect when you look at him, is what I'll say. Um, but yeah, so this week felt good. I actually enjoyed this week. I was like, I could have guessed things that happened, and we did guess some things. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First off, I think we should hit up some of the notable injuries and news that happened because, of course, it's a week of the NFL, so injuries have happened. You can't get away from them. So I'm going to go just through this list. We can talk about them a little bit. The Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. He hurt his leg late in the Sunday night loss. I don't know that we've heard any news on whether or not he's going to miss week 8. I would guess it's seeming like he won't, but that is important because we could see Kirk Cousins make his way back into the
Does it
lineup.
say what kind of injury it was? Because I turned off the game before I saw this.
I just saw knee injury.
Knee injury. Okay.
So
Yeah,
it says he's planning on starting the next game, but that's words from the quarterback himself, which isn't always gospel. So I think if you're going against the Dolphins as they are this week,
rest
it,
him.
yeah, I mean, it might not matter. The Dolphins are just giving up everything on the ground right now. Um,
It's also Kirktober, so I feel like he needs at least one start.
well, this would be a wonderful time to rest Penix and then let Kirk come out and cook for a minute and
It's
then trade him away for some
ex-
draft value.
exactly great point. I was just going to say that because this is really the last week you have a lot of teams have to show off their players for trade
Hmm.
value,
Hmm.
and Kirk Cousins is one. It would be pretty surprising if it happened. I think just because of his contract, and no team is really needy. But I don't know. I mean, hypothetically, if there was a serious injury, or like we learn more about Jaden Daniels' injury being serious, this would be an opportunity
Oh,
to trade for Kirk.
Kirk back to Washington would
Yeah,
be
I know. Can you imagine?
at as as this like bridge slash backup quarterback for that might be a wonderful situation. Plus, I am curious about Kirk because last year was his year immediately back from the Achilles tear, right?
And yeah, and the same with Aaron Rodgers the year before. You got to
Hmm.
give them the benefit of a doubt, you know.
Will it happen? I don't know. Penix probably doesn't want Kirk back in there just in case Kirk looks great. So Penix is going to fight to stay on the field.
You could swap Kirk for Mariota and then bring Mariota back to Atlanta too.
That'd be entertaining. Um, Panthers. This is a big one. Bryce Young has a high ankle sprain. So I believe he's already ruled out for this next week, probably a few weeks. I don't think he's on IR or anything of that sort, but excuse me. But so Andy Dalton will be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers for a few weeks, probably. And Andy Dalton has looked okay at times in the recent past, and
He's
also in the recent past he's looked awful.
I think this kind of saves the narrative of Bryce because Bryce has been looking up and down, but he's been looking good. And if he's out for the Bills and Packers and it's Andy Dalton, that's not good for the Panthers, but at least it helps kind of support the narrative that Bryce is getting better.
So do you think that how does that affect Tetaroa if you had to guess? Like,
It's hard to say. I mean, we were down on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and we thought, okay, maybe Joe Flacco could give them some upside. And then he ended up giving them a lot of upside. So it really just depends on the chemistry, I guess. I imagine Andy Dalton is a senior enough, experienced quarterback that he knows to get the ball to his best player. At least I would hope so or assume so. So probably TBD, but I think it will help.
my biggest concern is since they're going against the Bills this week, and I have a feeling that they're going to want to just rely on Dowdle and
Yeah.
I can't forget Chuba's
But
name. Come on, stop it. Uh, so I think they're going to rely heavily on that, and the Bills haven't had exactly a great run defense. So that's my one worry is they're going to be like, okay, Andy, you just hand that ball off, you get out of here, okay. But I don't know. He's been playing with backups. Maybe this is where we actually see Jalen Coker's breakout.
maybe it wasn't
I'm hopeful. That's all.
there really is no alpha, at least not off the top of my head. There's really no alpha corner on the Bills, so it's not like there's going to be necessarily somebody shadowing Tet. Like unlike the last game against the Jets.
Mhm.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's not like Ted. Ted hasn't had a full on breakout yet, I wouldn't say, but he has looked good. And gosh, his hands are awesome. So you're gonna want to throw to him no matter what quarterback you are.
Yeah,
Uh, Chicago Bears, tight end Cole Kmet may miss this next week. He hurt his back. I haven't heard a update as far as that goes. But if Kmet misses, I don't think it changes much for the team because I think Colson Loveland should be able to just fit right in.
probably. I mean, Komet has been. I can't remember how many targets he's been getting per game. I think it's been kind of inconsistent-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The offense still really. I mean, it relies on the run, and it will against the Ravens, and it runs through spreading the ball around, but primarily Roma Dunze for the big plays. So I don't know. I mean, Caleb he's been targeting Komet, but they really haven't seen any fantasy viable options for tight ends in Chicago this year. But I think if it ends up being a longer injury, and speaking of breakouts, I think Colston Loveland is slowly getting more and more snaps, and I think that he'll probably benefit the most from Komet's absence.
Yeah, and this is one of those things. Colson Loveland has to be someone they want to get integrated into the offense. With that pick that they used, they
Yeah,
can't just Kyle Pitts him and then put him on the shelf, for that long.
no.
So I think he was already getting more routes this last week, I believe, or the route participation, as it's called.
Hmm.
I wonder what it would look like if you mush their two stats together, if you would have had a startable tight end, because that's kind of what I would hope for is that he just picks up what he already had plus what Cole Kmet has.
Well, so Loveland had 3 receptions for 24 yards, and Komet had 1 reception for 16 yards.
It's not
So
great.
not great.
Not great.
No,
Uh,
but we've seen Komet have better games earlier this year, at least in terms of targets. So if in theory Loveland's has better chemistry catching the targets, if Komet's out, maybe he'll do more with those targets.
Yeah, and just for the sake, Cole Kmet is currently the 35th ranked tight end, it looks like, and Colston Loveland is 63. It's wild. So if you combine them together, you might get like 24 or something.
All right, yeah.
But Colston Loveland has the potential. We'll also talk about this in a little bit. So, Cleveland, no, the Browns lost a defensive end. I'm not worried about that. Green Bay Packers wide receiver Dontavian Wicks got injured.
Was
It,
sorry, there was another one last week, wasn't there? Has there been back-to-back
you,
injuries?
so try to remember which one. Jaden Reed's out. Wicks is out.
I can't keep track of them all.
No, there's a lot of these wide receivers that you just can't worry about. So, not that
Oh, I think Wicks might have been out last week too. I think he's missing a second week.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but again, we don't really notice.
Yeah, these players don't matter. The reason why that this matters is because if you can get down to like 3 receivers that you know the names of on this team, or even 2 would be the number where all of a sudden Matthew Golden and Romeo Dubs would look like really good starts. Dubs has been looking a lot better as of recent. He's
Hmm.
starting to look like he might be that alpha guy in Green Bay, and I can't say that because next week he could get 0 catches, and that's just the way it goes.
But I mean, we have we have other back guys and offenses that have dud weeks. I mean,
Mhm.
I would argue that in a sense, maybe you could say Khalil Shakir is kind of becoming that guy in Buffalo, and then he has dud weeks.
Yeah.
I am glad you mentioned that though, because it sounds like Christian Watson might be back this week.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Christian Watson coming back, it's complicated. He's an amazing deep threat from what I can tell. You got to kind of throw out the rookie year where Aaron Rodgers was hyper targeting him to try to catapult him.
Yeah.
But after that, he's been still competent and pretty good at getting separation and catching things deep. Jordan Love, I think, loves throwing the ball deep.
Hmm.
So that's a good combo. But Romeo Dubs has been just very much consistent, which is the thing that we've been missing, I think. So like he's got 6 receptions, 5 receptions, 6 receptions. You can even if you take out the 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, which you shouldn't. But even if you do, he's putting up respectable numbers, especially in PPR. So
Yeah, even this past week he had 72 yards, which is
mhm.
good. With the receptions, that's 13 fantasy points. That's a solid flex play.
Yeah, so I think Romeo Dubs is gaining a lot of value here through injuries, and it's not. I'm not going to say that's what we want because we don't really want injuries to be the reason why someone's gaining value. But you just work with what football gives you.
Injuries provide opportunities, and then those opportunities show what a player can be. That's
Ex-
yeah,
mhm. That's a good way to put it.
yeah.
So I'm looking through here to try to sort through all the injuries that don't matter for us. Kansas City lost offensive tackle Jawan Taylor to a shoulder injury.
And then I think Josh Simmons is out with personal reasons. I don't know if he still is, but I know he missed a game, at least one game.
And they maybe Trey Smith as well, so 2 starting linemen.
If their run game was anything, that would be significant, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to notice these things because they went against the Raiders. And as the Raiders fan on this podcast, I will go ahead and tell you I'm going to do everything I can in my power to avoid watching Raiders games because they bring me nothing but heartache. I'll tell you this every single week that the Raiders play. That's not this week. My controversial sit is going to be everyone on the Raiders offense.
You nailed it last week with Ashton Genty.
I mean, the Chiefs have a good run defense, and the Raiders can't figure out how to play the game apparently right now at all. How can? Sorry, guys, for 1 second, you have to bear with me. How can you take a Hall of Fame coach and a quarterback with this many years in the league and somehow manage to make them both look like they don't know how to figure out a football field in any way, shape, or form? And I think I know the true answer is just that the offensive line really sucks and they didn't work on it at all. And that blows an offense and completely destroys it. But at the same point, they should look competent at some point. How can they not look competent at any point?
It and it's also, I mean, they had chemistry a couple years ago in Seattle with a poor offensive line. So even though that definitely, prevents the run game from being great or even good at times, you still think that Gino would have some semblance of workability around a bad O line. Do you think maybe it's something to do with Chip Kelly's play calling and offense, and that's just not meshing with them?
I look, I want to because I want a scapegoat for this right now.
Yeah.
The issue is that we've fired our offensive coordinator like every single year for like the last 6 years. It's been tough sledding, like the offensive coordinator. How can it always be the offensive coordinator? Chip Kelly has had his moments where he's looked really bad in the NFL. So it absolutely could be that, but I just don't. What I could have a freaking stroke talking about the Raiders, I swear. But I just can't figure out how they don't understand it. Yeah, and it could absolutely be Chip Kelly. Also, whatever they're doing with the offensive line they coach, which is Pete Carroll's son,
Oh.
he is. This is the fan theory at the very least. I don't know that I ascribe to this because I think there's probably something else more to it. But they say that JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, our
Hmm.
best offensive lineman that's not Colton Miller, who's been injured,
Hmm.
he's a center. He's played center since the Oregon days.
Hmm.
They moved him to guard because they said he wasn't ready to play center. But the current center, Jordan Meredith, is garbage. So there's this big question mark of why are they doing this? Why not let him learn to play center, especially when the team sucks? Who cares? Let him get the reps in.
He's not like he's a liability because the whole O line's a liability.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Jordan Meredith is in the center. He's the guard. It doesn't track. So there
no,
might be this case that they're overthinking it and they're trying to like big brain themselves, which coaches do all the time, and they make things worse. When you're like, you have to fit in our system. We won't make our system work with you.
mhm.
I don't know, but what I do know is that it doesn't matter. Gino has been that bad. There's no
It's
way
the
around
interception
that.
too. It's not just taking sacks; it's the turnovers.
And now that he's not doing turnovers, he's not passing the ball at all. 70 yards, 60 yards, like you can't watch this. It's unwatchable football.
Yeah, their schedule is not looking great coming up here, but
They're gonna get just destroyed by everybody. If they win 2 games at the end of the season, I'm telling you, which is the way the Raiders will go, and then they'll get 7th or 8th pick, and we'll just be anyways.
that was the
Sorry.
Bears. That was the Bears' MO for a few years there too.
Mhm.
If we talk about, I think maybe we already talked about it, but the idea of them taking a quarterback, that's my belief. They need a culture reset.
We haven't taken a first round quarterback since Jamarcus Russell. If that lets everyone know how scared of first round quarterbacks the owners and the GMs have been since that point, I think it was 2006 if I remember off the top of my head.
It was
Um,
yeah, it was almost 20 years ago.
and he was an incredibly bad bust. But you just can't win in this league without quarterback talent. It's the
No,
truth. Like
it's
you
true,
can,
especially AFC West.
yeah, and Gino's not it. I'll stop soapboxing about the Raiders. I'm sorry, but if you would get like it's traumatic to go through a 31-0 loss to what has to be your biggest division rivals. That there's a lot of hatred on both sides.
Yeah.
Um, and just watch them completely dominate you. I don't care how good the Chiefs are. I expect to win. Anyway, my Miami Dolphins lost tight end Darren Waller. He's been placed on IR with a pectoral injury. I am not overly shocked, and it doesn't seem like there's much reason for him to try to stay there after coming out of retirement to play for the 1-6 Dolphins.
And he had a good little run there. He had a couple touchdowns and it looked really good in a couple games and got some money and got injured. So what?
Exactly. He gave him hope for a second. He looked cool, and I the Dolphins, I don't even know that they can be mad at him at this point. You're like, hey, you got injured, get out of here, go get your surgery, do whatever you got to do, get
Yeah,
healthy. It
you
doesn't
don't need to
matter.
be here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like thanks for trying.
I
uh,
I think that despite how dysfunctional the Dolphins are right now, I think Devon Achan is just invincible in fantasy. I really think so. I think that he's just so involved in every piece of his offense,
mhm,
no matter
mhm.
if Tua's playing well or not. I think he just seems invincible.
I think I said something back all the way back in the preseason is that I think if the Dolphins are relying on Devon Achan like they did last year, they're going to be losing.
Yeah,
And it's not that I don't like Achan as a player. I just think that the scheme isn't a winning scheme.
but
Um,
they're still going to do it.
but it's awesome for Achan. If you have Achan, you just love it because he is the offense. It doesn't matter who else could be good on this team. They're just going to keep finding ways to dump the ball off to him. And Tua, he might be the second worst quarterback after Geno right now. Because he can't stop finding ways to turn over the ball in the worst situations just over and over and over.
There was a video of one of the Browns cornerbacks, and it was like caught on mic, and he was defending a part of the field. I forget exactly where he was, and he was caught saying like, "Hey Tua, give me the ball," and then immediately Tua throws an interception right to him. So
He
funny.
gave him a fist bump in the hallway after watching McGruber. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. McGruber, oh my god.
I I like Tua as a person. I mean, I like what he presents. Right? I don't know Tua himself, but like what he presents seems pretty. So I just feel like he's should retire.
Yeah,
We've
no,
had that talk, but he hasn't been good, and he has a bunch of concussions. Just take what you got, man.
he's got money. Like, just retire. Start maybe become a coach if that's where your heart's at. If your heart's still
Mhm.
in football, you can still be involved in football. It's just
This isn't gonna work out much longer. And once Michael McDaniel's gone, there's no leash for him. I'm sure.
no.
The Saints lost running back Kendra Miller for the season. He's out for the season. So that leaves Alvin Kamara and Devin Neal, who we'll talk about in a little bit. That's Kendre Miller was looking great, but of course he tore his knee in front of Dennis Allen. There's some who knows what's going on. It's just weird timing. Dennis
Yeah.
Allen, the man who hates Kendre Miller, like mentally tore his knee or something.
Revenge game. Took it literal.
And Dennis Miller, he does seem like he has that anger in him. So
Dennis Miller? Yes, that
did,
is also true.
did I say Dennis Miller? Dennis Allen is who I'm talking about. But
Dennis Miller has that anger in him too.
don't confuse him for Dennis Miller was the actor who was in the TV talk show.
Yeah, he's in the 90s. I think
Series.
he has a reputation for being a jerk who's like has a anger issues, so it's fitting.
Dennis Miller might have been there.
Yeah.
the Jets. I don't want to say Justin Fields got injured per se, but they benched Justin Fields, and it sounds like they're gonna keep him benched going forward. So that leaves you Tyrod Taylor as the quarterback, and that stinks for Justin Fields. For everyone else, I feel like it's pretty much the same.
My feelings about Justin Fields are complicated because, I was really supportive of him as a Bears fan. I think I associate him so much with the faction of Bears fans that are they still upset me, where they had this whole narrative of, no, don't trade the 101 to Carolina, just draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and build around Fields. There's like this cult, there's even still a small faction of Bears fans that are just like, they have this cult of personality around Justin Fields, and like, no, we need to build around him and to keep him 101 and draft him. It's just no. So I think I associate Justin Fields so much with that faction of Bears fans that are just really ignorant and obnoxious, and probably at least somewhat prejudiced against Caleb because he paints his nails. So because of that, I have this, and also Justin Fields kind of sucked for the Bears too, so that's part of it. The Jets were in a weird position where they had to pay somebody to be their quarterback because they didn't really have anybody with Rodgers.
You couldn't bring Zach Wilson back again either.
No.
There's no way.
You couldn't bring Zach Wilson back, and they weren't in the position to draft a good enough quarterback. I mean, they could have drafted, a Jackson Dart, sure, but why would you have done that? So
the two things with Justin Fields that really stinks for me is that one, the venue we see shows at in Portland, the Mississippi Studios, has a picture of Justin Fields up, and it's not really him, but it looks just like him, and that's going to be a lot less relevant of a weird fact.
That's that concert we were at. We saw, right?
Yeah. There's just a painting of this ancient Roman dude who just looks like Justin Fields.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So that makes it immediately less relevant, and I just think that this gets rid of the upside any of the Jets will have as far as winning games. Yeah, I think they're out on winning games,
which isn't bad for Garrett Wilson though.
No, and it also could be good for Mason Taylor, who we'll talk about a little bit. Another one that's important for fantasy is that Sauce Gardner got a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
So that means he might not miss any time, but for at least potentially the next game, he might be out, and that is against the Bengals. And so if you don't have Sauce Gardner against Jamar Chase,
it changes the dynamic of the game a bit.
Mm-hmm. Because their cornerback too has been giving up points. He has not been good. So you just you have this elite backup ready to take over his spot. It's just going to change their defense.
Yeah, because it was DJ Reed last year. He was pretty solid, and now he's on the Lions, and now he's on IR too. But they don't really have a good corner too in New Jersey.
The Eagles lost their center Cam Jurgens to a knee injury. I don't know how serious it is, unfortunately. And then they lost three pieces off of their defense. Azeez Ojulari, Jeremiah Trotter, and Adoree Jackson.
The Adoree Jackson one is significant because, going into the year, the Eagles had a really good secondary with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, but really that's all they had. And Adoree Jackson was a mediocre but like somewhat stable cornerback 3. They don't have any cornerback 3 now. Like Keely Ringo is doing nothing. So they're probably going to trade for a corner, but just losing that piece of so only having 2 startable corners opens up It opens up the offense or the another team's opposing offense in the passing game. Um, so I think we'll see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. It's not like the Eagles' defense has been like amazing either. So last year they were definitely amazing. This year they have looked, pretty middle of the pack, not great, not terrible, but just
Yeah,
there. So if this hurts them, then theoretically the Eagles could be a defense to target for a game or two. And of course, they get the Giants coming up this week. So this is a good match to lose a cornerback
yeah,
because you're just going against Darius Slayton, Wandale,
that's all you
and
cover, really. Yeah,
Theo Johnson's going to score a touchdown. But that's just the way it goes. You can't
yeah,
you can't you can't
it's
plan for that.
inevitable.
Uh, the 49ers lost to center Jake Brendel, hamstring injury against the Falcons. Like their offensive line needs to get worse. However, with George Kittle back, apparently he is the offensive line because he brought Christian McCaffrey right back to life immediately.
And that's the thing. That's how you know if you actually watch games is if he put up the donut for fantasy, but if you watch, like, he was blocking his butt off for CMC.
It's almost like it really sucks for fantasy. The 0-0 sucks. However, he could almost be considered the MVP of that game just for the lanes he opened up. Like that whole game changed drastically compared to what we've seen of the last few weeks from the 49ers.
And that's why I think he's the best tight end in the NFL because he's so elite at both the blocking and pass catching.
It was like how Rob Gronkowski was the best tight
Yeah,
end because he
yeah.
was essentially an extra lineman that could also catch like a wide receiver.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with Kittle. If you have that, it's just versatility added to your offense. Um, let's see. The Commanders, unfortunately, once again lost Jaden Daniels to a hamstring injury that they are saying is not serious, but I don't see how it can be not serious when you get two hamstring injuries in the same season.
Yeah, and I mean even like minor hamstring injuries, like Lamar Jackson's, still sidelined him 2 games, and Jaden's already missed 2 games. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
This is looking like one of those seasons that's just a nightmare for the Commanders, and unfortunately, someone had mentioned this to me before the season started is that the Commanders, although they looked amazing last year, they are a franchise that, much like many of the franchises we all love in the NFL, don't have sustained success.
yeah, yeah.
So, this could just be a factor of injuries aren't a factor of this. I want to be clear what I'm saying here, but this franchise may not know how to bounce back from adversity very well.
And they have new ownership, but again, we don't know how that new ownership builds a team culture over time.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
it's an unknown.
And then on Monday we had Mike Evans with just one of the worst looking injuries you can see. Yeah, and I was concerned for Mike Evans as he was walking to the sideline. Excuse me. Apparently my voice decided to die right there.
Mhm.
But as he was walking to the sideline, he couldn't even open up his eyes. It was one of the most like concerning versions of a concussion I've seen, and that might have been the pain, but he looked like he was about to fall over at any second. It was so he broke his collarbone and he got a concussion, and that sucks.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other way to put it. They say this might not keep him out the rest of the season, but I would be shocked if he comes back from this at any point during the regular season.
So I broke my my collarbone, my clavicle, and it was really really painful. And I think the timeline for me to heal was about 8 weeks to 3 months. And honestly, like, I mean, everyone's different. After like 6 weeks, I was pretty much back to full strength. So it really depends on the exact break, because there's a lot of bones in there.
Mhm.
And I think as a professional athlete getting a lot of high quality medical attention, I think there's a very reasonable chance he could be back in 8 weeks. But at the very least, I think if the Bucks are like kind of treading water and maybe like leaning towards a highly likely chance of winning the NFC South, they'll probably shut Evans down until playoffs.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, and then Nico Collins got a concussion. Uh, and we don't know for sure if he'll need to miss time, but I would guess that he probably does. Because he got
Yeah.
the concussion on Monday night.
Yeah.
It felt like okay, so the 7 p.m. start time in the West Coast is awesome for West Coasters. I understand East Coasters hate it, but you have to understand too, if you're on the East Coast, that we have to watch London games at 6 in the morning.
Exactly.
This is a trade-off, okay? You guys have to stay up late. We have to wake up really darn early.
Yeah, and the game was in Seattle, so
Hmm. But it did feel like, for some reason, every single one of the Texans players was banging their head on the turf really hard.
hmm.
And I don't think there was any like specific tactics being used. It felt like it was just something that happened. Like they all had one moment where they hit their head on the turf. CJ Stroud, of course, also had that, but they all got to come back in, just not Nico Collins. And if you're a Nico Collins owner, that must be frustrating.
I
Um,
think I saw his replay. It was like particularly rough hit
mhm,
too.
mhm. I would guess that he misses this next week personally, but that's just a guess. So yeah, fire up whoever else is there, right? We'll talk about that in a little bit. As a matter of fact, you know what, Willie, do you have any other news you want to talk about that I may have missed?
Not news, but I do want to just shout out your prediction for Quinshawn Judkins against the Miami run defense. And I mean, the run defense has been pretty terrible, but you prophesized the possibility of maybe 3 touchdowns, and that
3
happened.
touchdowns. It happened.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was very happy, let me tell you, and not just for the prediction reasons. Quinshawn Judkins is someone who I need to save a season. So,
yeah.
um, let's move into our second part of this, and this is going to be the second half breakouts. So this is just players that we're going to talk about, and me and Willie are going to prophesize whether or not we think these players are going to end up as someone who I don't want to say league winners all the way down, right? Because that's not how it works. But some people who you're going to want on teams, pieces of
Yeah.
fantasy teams that are going to be relevant, essentially. Of course, Willie, if you think one of these guys is going to be a league winner, you shout that out to the rooftops, okay?
Oh, I will.
Okay, perfect. I have a list here. Of course, if you're listening and you're like, man, you guys didn't say that one, dude, feel free to ask. This is just a list based on our brains because these are the people who I think could bust out.
Hmm.
So I'm going to start off with someone who's near and dear to Willie here. It's Colston Loveland. We've talked about him a little bit now that, especially now that Cole Kmet's out, the bye week is gone. How do you feel about Colston Loveland going forward?
I think he's rosterable and maybe startable this week with all the buys. I don't see a breakout with the amount of mouths to feed in this offense. I think that he is a great dynasty play, obviously drafted super high. I just think it's gonna be the reverse Sam Laporta, and we're gonna have to wait a year to actually really see him at his full potential. So, pick him up if you need him, but I don't see him being a league winner.
That feels pretty fair. I think there's opportunity there. I was thinking about this is that with the rookie tight ends in the past, it always used to be wait a year, right?
Yeah.
And Colston Loveland feels like that might be the trajectory he's going. I was looking at one of my teams here, and I just want to know if this is the most insane thing that I have 3 tight ends on one team, and it is Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and
Mhm.
Harold Fannin. 3 rookie tight ends. And I was just thinking, I'm like, that is something because I never would have done this in the past. There's not a single year I can remember ever thinking this would have been okay.
My main league has 2 flex spots, and we allow tight ends in there. So
Mhm.
this week I will be starting 3 tight ends.
It's been one of those years though.
Yes.
Honestly, I've looked around and like there's tight ends that are more likely to hit that touchdown than a lot of receivers right now. The
Yeah.
receivers are thin. They're just thin. There's not a ton out there that are trustworthy.
I think the Giants and the Browns, and while Waller was there, the Dolphins are great examples of that.
And then you also have like the Packers, where you can't necessarily trust a wide receiver, but Tucker Kraft is amazing.
The,
There's just a lot of tight ends.
yeah, the Cardinals and Trey McBride, who had a great week.
Oh, dude, Trey McBride was awesome.
So he definitely helped me win my week.
It makes me wonder about just the Packers against tight ends in general. I'm wondering if that's the little weak spot, but I'd have to look that up. I'm gonna give you another Bears player here. So Colson Loveland, I also agree. I agree with you pretty much. Like I think there's potential there for him. I think it's worth rostering, but I would also say if he's not hitting within the next couple weeks, you can probably just expect him to stay at where he's at.
Yeah,
There's this like off chance that he has a blow up and he is a top 10 pick, and they're like, okay, well, this is the guy we've been missing. But the Bears have been winning without using him.
e-
So I don't
ex-
think there's like this urge to get him involved. Like let him
exactly.
come along. Okay, Luther Burden.
This is a tricky one because when he's gotten the ball, he's looked really, really good. And I've compared him a lot to DJ Moore, but I think that I can't really put it into words. My brain's dead. But there's a difference between them and their in how they function in this offense.
Mhm.
So it's not a 1-to-1 comparison. I don't know. I really don't know. He's gonna. I could see him having like a boomer. Like he could be like a kind of like a rookie year or whatever year he started great. T Higgins kind of where he's gonna have. I could see him like down the line having like a 30-point game twice, and then also having like a 2-point game twice.
Hmm.
So he just feels very boomer bust. But I feel like there's gonna be some weeks where he's gonna boom. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I don't see him overtaking anyone significantly in this offense. And
yeah,
I think that's the issue is that without injuries happening in front of him, and I'm talking multiple injuries, it's got to be Rome and DJ or uh,
he's still behind Zacchaeus.
yeah, because Zacchaeus is there. That's really the issue is Zacchaeus is in here gumming up all the works for Luther because Zacchaeus gets, it's not like he's a super usable piece, but he gets enough volume that he is. If you took Luther and you gave him Zacchaeus' volume and his own, that would be a potentially startable player going forward. But without that, you're not getting it, and I just don't see a path to it without that injury.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, again, similar to Loveland, his potential to be a great player next year.
Yeah, yeah, and you just got to watch what pieces move and where from the Bears. Let's go to some running backs that I think no one really wants to talk about. Caleb Johnson, Pittsburgh running back.
They're just getting it done with both Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. He's made enough mistakes that if this is a guy who they end up like actually using, it's going to be a long haul process.
And Trey Sermon is ahead of him on the depth chart, I think. So
Gross.
yeah,
And Arthur Smith's there.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
Uh, it's okay. So Caleb Johnson is a solid. I don't think that he's worth holding in redraft right now. The next name I'm going to say is someone that I need you to be impartial on for me for a minute because I can't be impartial on this player, and it's Travion Henderson, who I wish wasn't on this list because I wish he'd already broken out even.
Here's the thing, though. He hasn't looked bad. He just hasn't had any opportunity for whatever reason. But you made this point with Loveland and the Bears. Like the Patriots are winning without using him.
So why manufacture those touches if that might hurt?
Yeah.
The thing. Okay, so here's what I hear parroted everywhere is that one, he's bad at pass blocking, and two, he goes down to arm tackles. The bad at pass blocking thing, I think that is a narrative that probably isn't true any longer. I think that it did happen in the game that everyone expected him to break out the first time, which
Mhm.
is like week 2 or week 3. I can't remember exactly one. But since then, I've seen him pick up some pretty good block. He's looked fairly okay at pass blocking when he's in the game, but he's just not in the game. They just
Yeah,
don't give him the ball. So I agree. He's not part of the game plan. I am in a hard place with Travion because I want to drop him. Every part of me wants to drop him, but I still think that if Ramondre goes down or if they start losing games,
they're gonna use him.
they're going to use him. And he's so fast and he could potentially be so dynamic that I think it would be silly. But I feel like I've wasted a third round pick. So it's hard for me to be.
Impartial, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I mean, yeah, and again, the Patriots are just winning games, so they don't need him, and it's an awful one-to-one comparison. But what team did Mike Vrabel come from? Who was the starting running back? It was Derrick Henry, and he was the offense for the run game. There was no,
Well,
oh,
here's the thing with Derrick Henry. That's I remember when Derek Vrabel showed up in Tennessee. He had DeMarco Murray as the starter and Derrick Henry as the backup.
I feel like
And
an
Derrick
entire,
Henry, yeah, Derrick Henry was young.
yeah,
And you know how many opportunities Derrick Henry got? Pretty much none.
no,
Pretty much none. He was considered like a massive bust at first. And of course, we know Derrick Henry now. That wasn't the case. He's clearly very skilled, but Mike Vrabel's just got a thing. He just does this thing.
And so yeah, in that sense of a one-to-one comparison, it makes sense that he's just going to have them. Unfortunately, wait. Although, when did he join? I don't know if he was there when Henry started. But he came into a culture where the idea was even if you have a great running back, you're going to let him. I think he came in the year Henry started getting more touches, but the same logic applies. Um, where he comes from a culture where it's like you might have a stud, but if you're winning games, like you can slowly acclimate him to the offense.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. So Vrabel was the coach in 2018 to 2024. Henry was drafted in 2016. So
Mm.
I do remember it, yeah. So, I feel like the comparison still stands, but I might be wrong about the years. I don't remember if he was then with DeMarco Murray or not.
Yeah, it did take it took a minute for Henry to really establish himself, and I don't think he was really seen as like the running like an incredible running back until like 2019. Like he definitely showed, but like he didn't have that consistency and like that reputation until 2019.
Okay, so next up we got Cedric Tillman, and I'm listing him here because he was someone who had been poised for a sleeper role. Like people thought he may break out, and then he got hurt early on in the season, so we never really got to see it.
He kind of
Uh,
did break out a little bit, right?
yeah, and it's not as though pass catchers on the Browns have done anything that would impede him from breaking out again once he's back.
It just depends on. I mean, it's total unknown because he was, he's with Dale and Gabriel now, so total
Mhm.
unknown.
Yeah. Cedric Tillman is someone who I'd say if you have an IR spot and you really don't have anyone else better out there, go ahead stash him because
Yeah,
he has flashed. He's flashed last year. He's flashed a little bit this year, and he's a good receiver that can't stay healthy at this point.
yeah.
So, and Jerry Judy's looked awful. Dylan Gabriel hasn't looked particularly good either. I think it is hilarious that the Browns go into Wildcat when they get in the red zone.
And
Um,
they're having him pass so much.
I think you have to pass 50 times to get 200 yards with this guy. There's no other way around.
Yeah, that's not a winnable strategy.
No, so I wouldn't expect any like actual high end upside or game wrecking play from this guy, but he is someone who could potentially be a flex play.
Mhm.
Which, it's only worth holding if you have an IR spot, really.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden.
Yeah, I mean, again, like what I said, coming into the year has come to fruition, where it's the Packers wide receiver room is kind of a nightmare, and Romeo Doubs is looking like the guy. But again, we've applied this logic already. But like the Packers are winning games, and you have this new shiny toy with Matthew Golden and Travion Henderson, Colston Loveland. If you have a winning culture, there's not this huge need to make your rookies super involved. I,
Mhm.
I it's still I still just remember like when rookie quarterbacks were not expected to start. Like they would be expected, to sit a year and like at least half a season and just acclimate. We just have this, especially with tight ends, we just have this recent phenomenon where players as rookies are getting used heavily and breaking out. So it's a little bit different if for a receiver as a quarterback or even a running back. But I think that he definitely has that down later in the year, like towards fantasy playoffs potential, because
Mhm.
we've seen him get more involved each and every week.
Yeah, he doesn't look bad. He doesn't look like he's lost or like this is a bad situation for him. It's just a 100% Packers team that spreads the ball around
Yeah,
and game plans. It seems like each week for a different person, and Matthew Golden hasn't really been that person multiple weeks. Now,
yeah,
again, Romeo Dubs could be the argument against this because if Dubs really does just become this wide receiver one on this team, then I don't know, maybe it's a log jam.
could
But
be.
Matthew Golden is talented enough that I think this could be someone. So he's a stash, I think, for sure.
Yeah, definitely a stash.
Um, Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver who's recently shown some flashes of life.
He is such a great. I still remember that play from last year where Anthony Richardson like threw the ball like 200 yards down the field, and
Hmm.
Alex Pierce had that incredible catch. He really is that. Who's a good comparison to make? Down the field threat who has boomer bust games. I mean, there's a lot of players that apply there. Maybe Gabe Davis. I don't like Alec Pierce on a consistent basis. If Josh Downs continues to be hurt, God forbid there's an injury to my Tyler Warren. You don't want to bank on injuries. Alec Pierce has the talent to step up, but he really just feels like a down the field boomer bust guy. So I don't know. I don't really.
Yeah, I think that's the case because right now Tyler Warren and Michael Pittman have kind of the short and mid game wrapped up. You don't really need a lot more. And then when you have Josh Downs, it's just another person in that
Yeah.
area.
And this whole offense is schemed around, getting up, getting the ball to Tyler Warren, and then just running with Jonathan Taylor.
Eh, For me, I have a hard time seeing any of the Colts players that aren't currently succeeding busting out unless Jonathan Taylor stops being so efficient. Because that
Yeah.
game plan will work every single week if Jonathan Taylor continues to look the way he does.
Who's the backup currently in Indianapolis? Is it the rookie or is it somebody
I
else?
think it's Giddens, the rookie, and I do believe that just because I've seen him on the field. Whereas I think,
It is. Yeah, it is. Or it's
it,
Amir Abdullah, but okay.
yeah, we have seen Amir sometimes too, and Amir looks pretty fast this year. Actually, shockingly, 40-year-old Amir. He's not that old. He's really not that old. I promise. Uh,
If JT goes down though, I mean they can't abandon the run because it's been such an important part of their offense. So those could be handcuffs, but
mhm.
Alec Pierce is not a handcuff to
N-
the same extent.
no. I'm going back to the Chicago Bears for this next one. Alec Pierce also, I will say this. He's like this plug and play sort of guy where if you need a gamble and you really just don't have anyone for a wide receiver,
Hmm.
you could throw him in there and hope
Yeah,
because it can play out sometimes. And I think it's a higher potential than just a random dart throw. But
I,
he's not someone who I want clogging a spot.
I would start him over like a Cardinals running back.
Yeah. hmm Um, Kyle Monangai.
This is an interesting one because again, like it's so fun to get excited about seventh round rookies like like Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. And Monangai was a beast at Rutgers, so he has that um, workhorse potential. Like he was a workhorse at Rutgers. So I'm not super worried about like him only being like second fiddle. I think that DeAndre Swift looks really good. The run game is getting really good in Chicago, at least the past couple weeks. Um, it's interesting though because I think Swift had 19 carries, the Monangai's 13. But again, the Bears were leading by double digits most of the game. So it's kind of like, well, were they giving him carries because he's getting better or just because they could? So it's hard for me to say. I personally did spend a good amount of fab on him this weekend because he's getting more involved in the offense. And because we know what Ben Johnson likes to do with running backs and he doesn't rely on just one, at least in Detroit, that's been the historical precedent. I don't know. I like him. I don't know if he's a league winner. If Swift goes down and he continues to show what he did at Rutgers, then he's I would consider him a league winner. Yes.
Yeah, he's someone who I have seen look good and I've seen look pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the game. But you're exactly right. Ben Johnson has used David Montgomery and Gibbs, not
Yeah.
Josh Jameer, different Gibbs.
Yeah.
Uh, but I I want to see it in a game where they're competitive.
Exactly.
I think he could. So he's absolutely worth the stash 100% right now. And if he breaks out, great. He has the opportunity to do it. But I really want to see it in a game where they're competitive, where they use him more than just like him getting a lucky touchdown.
Exactly. And the Saints game most recently was their least competitive, I think, of the season. So
But there's this chance that the Bears just keep getting better
yeah,
as Ben Johnson gets this unit whipped more into the shape that he imagines it in, and it's less like this. All these players trying to figure it out, and they've got it figured out. This offense could, in theory, take a step in season because this is a rookie coach here with
yeah.
a bunch of new pieces.
I
So I think there's actual opportunity that this offense just levels up.
I don't want to jinx anything, but we do have Ravens, Bengals, Giants, and then Vikings revenge game, and all those games in theory are winnable.
What a perfect time for this
Yeah,
level up to happen, and to get these games right after your bye week.
it's pretty
Oh,
nice.
that's nasty. I didn't think about that. Okay, I'm gonna butcher this name because I've heard it said a lot of different ways, even on the broadcast. So I don't think they know it yet. Um, Chimere DK.
I'm pretty sure it's Shamir DK.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. Like I only go with what I heard last, which was the announcer in this last game when he scored his touchdown, say Chimere DK scored a touchdown. I'm like that doesn't feel right, but
I straight up heard someone in a YouTube video just straight face genuinely say Chimere Dyke.
and just to be clear, we're talking about a bridge for everyone who's out there. Um,
Dike.
yeah,
Jeez.
you can't.
I mean, maybe you don't know how to pronounce things. Maybe you only read and you just don't talk much. I get it.
Here's what I'll say. It is my responsibility to learn, so I will learn before he breaks out if he does. But I don't know. We Ao Manor. He's the guy who we all kind of wanted, and he looked like he was going to get that opportunity. But all of a sudden, DK is showing up. And I think DK was drafted first, if I remember right. Like he had higher draft
He was.
capital.
He was. Yeah, I think they were both taken in the fourth, but no, I think the Titans took DK, Gunnar Helm, the tight end, and then A.O. Manor all in the fourth.
Yes, they went out and got some passing help. He looks like a different player to me too. DK seems like he's more likely to be the deep threat.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas A.O. Manor plays like medium, right? Like the medium routes. And Cam Ward, for how bad he's been, if you want a piece that could still be good on a team where the quarterback play is pretty bad, the deep threat might be it, because a busted play is all you need for points, right? And Cam Ward, I'm gonna give him a lot of credit because the coach got fired, the offensive coordinator switched over. Like it's been a bad season for the front office. It's been a bad season for him. It's been a bad season all around. He's still got a cannon. He can toss that thing forever far. So if you want a piece that you're going to take a dart throw, I would much prefer right now DK over A.O. Manor for that potential.
I can see that. I make a good point. He has a cannon, but unlike an Anthony Richardson, it's not just from. It doesn't just translate into pure athleticism. Like his completion percentage is respectable, and he actually is accurate with the ball, for lack of a better term. So, despite all the sacks he's taken, despite all the turnovers, despite all the inconsistency of the offense, at least when you see him throw the ball, he's getting it. He's throwing dots to his receiver. It's not just Anthony Richardson using his cannons just light it up. Like Cam Ward has more. How do I say it? Like just more of a structure to his play style.
Do you know? Because I haven't heard anything, but if Bo Hardigree is still in charge of calling plays for the Titans after the coach got fired, because I know Callahan had Hardigree call plays for the last game that he was in.
I don't know. Was so the interim coach? I forget what he was on the staff. Wasn't he like the?
I don't remember exactly. It's Mike McCoy, right? So he was the head coach of the Chargers forever ago, but I don't know what he is as a coordinator.
He was. Here we go. He was this. Okay, he was a senior offensive assistant, whatever that is. So to answer your question, it probably is the same play caller.
Yeah. So there's good news and bad news there. One, I've seen Bo Hardigree. He ended up as the offensive coordinator after Getsy was fired from the Raiders. And that was him as a rookie offensive coordinator, essentially, because he'd never done it before. And it was bad, but it was simple. The play calling was simple. And I think with a rookie quarterback, simple play calling could work pretty well in their favor. So I think there is potential that he gets better. Cam Ward, that is. And the reason that's important is because we need him to get a little bit better for DK or A.O. Manor to matter for the season.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the season's pretty lost.
Yeah. It's got to be about developing Cam Ward at this point. That's got to be the main thing, especially if Simmons is out. Like that's your defense was good when Simmons was good and bad when he didn't do anything.
It's like the TJ Watt effect in Pittsburgh, but even more apparent.
Do the Titans win another game this season?
I'm gonna breeze super fast through their schedule here because I have it pulled up. Nope. Divisional games are always I could see them beating the Jags just because.
That would be, I would this for the Jags. That would be so embarrassing and just so. Trevor Lawrence would have to make some massive mistakes for it to happen, but that is also why I could see it happening, is because Trevor Lawrence seems like a guy who can make massive mistakes.
And yeah, you take a page out of Cam Ward's playbook and
oops, taps the ball over shoulder.
Yeah, I mean that's the only game I'm seeing that it looks like it could be possibly winnable, just because divisional ones are weird. But I mean, no, their schedule is pretty rough. Like really, I don't know who made this, but this was yikes. Texans, Chiefs, Niners. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, really though. I could see maybe the Saints, maybe depending on what their situation looks like come Christmas time.
Yeah,
the Browns, I can't see it because the Browns defense is too good.
Yeah.
But so both the receivers on the Titans and Gunnar Helm also has been getting a larger percentage of target share, but I'm not bringing him up here simply because I don't I can't see a breakout happening. I really can't.
If there's better tight ends on also mediocre offenses that I'd rather have.
Mhm. Let's move on to Devin Neal. This is the now backup running back for the New Orleans Saints.
I, I liked him coming into the season. Out of Kansas. He was one of my favorite rookie running backs. He went later than I expected. Um, I don't know. We got to wait and see. I mean, right
Yeah.
now, last week he had 1 carry for 1 yard.
Yeah.
I like I like Taysom Hill's upside on this offense more with Miller out than I like Devin Neal's.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Just because we've seen Taysom Hill do it again, not as a running back, as a whatever he is. um, I could just see them relying on him in the run game more.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not like that would be the most shocking thing in the world if Taysom Hill suddenly getting 7, 8 carries a game.
Yeah.
Devin Neal's someone who I want to happen because I think at this point with Kamara, he's been in trade rumors, which we we'll talk more about trades. I think probably next week at this point. But if Kamara's gone, they need to figure out what they're going to do at running back. Devin Neal would hopefully be that answer.
At least
And
I thought.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They have to give him a shot. And I wonder if like he really blows up. We haven't seen Kamara looking very good as far as running the ball. I mean, we know Kamara. This hasn't looked like old school Kamara this year.
Well, even his reception, like what I was banking on drafting him was based on his receptions, and even those have gone down.
Mm-hmm. That Saints team is just not built the same way, and that makes sense. Kellen Moore, but maybe this my hopefulness here is that Kellen Moore needs to test out the future because he's got this long leash and needs to see what he's got.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I could see them giving him a good amount of opportunity and kind of, I don't want to say shutting down Alvin Kamara. The NFL doesn't really seem to shut down players,
No.
but giving him more of a backseat role, saying like, okay, chill out. We know you're good. Hang with us. You'll be with us next year if we can manage to put together a competitive team. Devin, you'll get out there, see what you got.
At least replacing what Kendre Miller was doing.
Yeah, and Kendre Miller's, of course, he was as soon as he was shaping into a flex player, he goes and tears his ACL. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver, Cleveland Browns.
I would just take Tillman. I feel like both are probably available in your league, and I would just prioritize Tillman. Nothing to get excited about.
No, Gabriel really needs to show that he can pass the ball down the field.
Yeah.
You can't just have 5 Jarvis Landrys on the same team. It doesn't make sense. They'll just cannibalize each other. Jaden Higgins of the Texans. And we can go ahead and wrap Jalen Noel into that as well. You might as well.
I just haven't seen Jaden Higgins really involved in plays. Like he's been on the field, maybe even more than Noel, but we've seen Noel do well with the limited amount of receptions he's got, and he's got like 2 touchdowns, I think, at least one. So I would lean towards him, but these are interesting. It's an interesting split.
So I know starting at the beginning of the season, everyone wanted Higgins because he had more of the profile for alpha wide receiver. He was taller. He fit the Nico Collins mold. Whereas Jalen Noel was a smaller speedster. I do wonder how much though that helps because they had this role in this offense for Tank Dell that has been vacated, and I think that Jalen Noel is for this season in particular has the more potential to break out because that role is vacated, and they've already had it in this offense. It's not something new for anyone to learn, and if he can replicate that, he can be a startable piece. Tank Dell was never really this guy who was a league winner outside of maybe like flashes.
But he had some good games though.
Mm-hmm. And that sort of speed opens up the offense. So if they can get him worked in better, that whole offense might look a little bit better.
I didn't even think about that 1-to-1 comparison, but that is a good point. I think Xavier Hutchinson is also stealing touchdowns and he's involved, but I think if you have Nico out, if you maybe have Christian Kirk out, at least inevitably, there's got to be some guys that step up just based on opportunity alone. And I think hesitant on Higgins, but I do like Noel as a possible stash if you have room.
Yeah, 100%. And this is no guarantee that this happens because that Texans offense doesn't have an offensive line, and you can't really operate without an offensive line as a competent offense. One silver lining is that they've had this role before. We've seen it be successful before, and I don't know how hard it would be to reintegrate that role into an offense that already exists right now, especially an offense that's not working
Yeah.
particularly well unless they go against a bottom 5 defense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the Ravens.
And Higgins just hasn't shown me anything. He's got the body, but we've seen plenty of people who've got the body not succeed in the NFL.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, it's like kind of like QJ his rookie year. He obviously turned that around, but like that's the same kind of prototypical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tez Johnson.
We could also throw Kate Otten in here too. Obviously, we saw Kate Otten break out last year, but he hasn't done much of anything this season yet. I like Tez and Cade. Cade's a lot safer. I think Tez is more upside. I like them both though. I really do. I think that with Mike Evans out, Chris Godwin could be out the rest of the year. Like I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, we don't really understand exactly what's going on. It's a fibula injury, and so this is Wednesday that we're recording this of the week, and he's already been ruled out for this week. Very fast, very early, and with no real updates. So that's a bad sign in my opinion for when he can come back.
Yeah, and and he's coming off such a devastating injury. I think it's a similar thing with Mike Evans. If he is going to come back, they're gonna ease him in probably, just because Emeka Egbuka has shown that he can really do it all himself.
Yeah.
And then there's also Bucky. I think it's his foot injury. There is opportunity, and we've seen Tez produce pretty well so far. I mean, maybe boomer bust, but we've seen it. I still can't get over the fact that he's like barely bigger than me. I can't.
he looks really skinny out there too. Like it is exceptional when you see him. You're like, oh man, that guy is not. He's not like, I don't even know, well-rounded is what the word I use.
That's how I would describe myself. So, so that maybe there's maybe the injury risk there. But I think you definitely pick him up. He probably has already been taken in your league, but against a good matchup with all the injuries, he's startable, I think. And I would definitely say Kate Otten is too.
Yeah, I agree with your idea that Kate Otten is the solid play and then Tez is the upside play. What I did like is that Tez looks good with the ball in his hand. This is something you won't get if you're just looking at the stats. But if you watch Tez as he catches the ball, he's making the first guy miss each time. That is something that is important as far as, his upside.
He's a playmaker. If you compare him 1-to-1 to say like a Sterling Shepard, Sterling's been around for a while. He's solid, but he's not. Yeah, he doesn't have that same dynamic playability as Tez.
Yeah, and Baker looks for Tez, and that might just be who knows what. But you follow the narrative of what's happened with the Buccaneers right here, and the whole MVP chant, and him doing the backflip and getting the notoriety immediately after his first catch in the NFL. It was a touchdown. Yeah, and so people already know him. Baker's looking for him because what better way to get on your quarterback's good side than get MVP chance for him out there,
Yeah.
And then he delivers again immediately. He catches the touchdown, and then he was just inches away from a second touchdown. If he had got the second touchdown, this wouldn't even be a question. The breakout would be
like
there.
number one on the way. Yeah. Also, this is kind of silly, but him and Emeka Egbuka this past week both had 4 receptions for 58 yards, but Tez had the touchdown. Just saying.
Who's better? No, well, there's a lot of funny things happening here too, because him and Bucky are both in the exact same situation. Get drafted by the Buccaneers.
Day 3
from Oregon.
Yep.
Have absolutely no real prospect of having a lucrative career.
Nope.
And then get their opportunity and shine in it.
If you watched Oregon games, you could argue otherwise, but still.
Okay. I'm sorry to side note a bunch, but so Tez Johnson is someone who I really like because I took my kid to the Oregon versus Illinois game a couple years back where they just smashed Illinois, and Tez Johnson was a huge part of that. And so I just remember, my 5-year-old, he was cheering for Tez Johnson, so to see him on the
Oh,
stage, it's different, it's cool.
yeah.
It's very cool. So I'm all aboard. I'm saying there's a lot of potential here, especially because Baker is the guy who's gonna, he has the potential to pass for 50 touchdowns. I don't think he's on pace for that at all. But
But yeah, he's gonna be one of the touchdown and passing yard leaders at the end of the year.
And he looks great. He still could be the MVP. I don't care that he had one bad game. That happens to everybody.
No.
And you want pieces attached to that. So Tez is someone who I think you absolutely want on your team if you can still get him.
Yeah.
Malik Washington.
I'm off the Dolphins. I don't care.
Okay, that's fair. I don't care either. So we'll move on from Malik Washington. Trey Harris.
I would say maybe because I was super high on him in his role in this offense coming into the year, but I mean we have the three-headed monster of QJ Ladd and Keenan, but also we saw last week another guy, Gadsden.
Which we can talk about Gadsden here too. We might as well.
I think I would just definitely fade Trey Harris. He just doesn't seem to have a role in this offense right now, especially with another rookie stepping up and stepping up, like really stepping up.
Gadsden just looked great.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was busted plays or they just weren't expecting him, but he capitalized on it. 160 yards isn't something that is going to be ignored unless you're Bill Belichick. It's just not going to be ignored.
I think he had the most receiving yards by a tight end on the Chargers in I want to say 10 years or something ridiculous.
Because Antonio Gates was great, but I don't remember him ever having gigantic yardage totals. He was a touchdown dude.
And even that was over 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But either which way, so Gadsden suddenly has opened up this gigantic opportunity for himself. I mean, he's competing with Will Disley. It doesn't matter.
No, I feel like he's a starter now.
Yeah, and so I agree. There's too many names in front of Trey Harris. It would take 2 injuries, I think, to catapult him into a role that would actually matter for your team.
Or even it could even take Trey injuries.
That would be unfortunate for the Chargers, but great for Trey. But yeah, I'm there's no reason to have him on the radar right now.
No,
there's significant things that need to happen first. Jadon Blue.
Well, once have you shared about why he was injured to start the year?
Yeah. Okay. So he was wearing designer cleats, and I'm trying to remember because it was either Gucci or yeah, of course you Google it, and Gucci doesn't want you to find that. Big Gucci. I'm going off the deep end a little bit here. So he got blisters because he was wearing designer cleats instead of just regular cleats that everyone plays in. He's like, I gotta have them blinged out, and then he misses a game because of these blisters. And he misses the game immediately after Miles Sanders gets injured. So just big old blew it right there. Now he's had a few opportunities, very few. Oh man, I know. I didn't think about that. No pun intended. That's that. Oh, it's great. He's pure handcuff. I don't think there's any way he ekes out a role for himself at this point without Javonte getting hurt.
I mean, you do make a good point about the handcuff, though. It's going to be between him and Miles Sanders for that. If Javonte goes down, role. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Cowboys are going to trade for a running back, and then they would just be stuck with Jadon Blue. So
yeah, well, okay. So Sanders is out for the year.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, he got some injury. Who knows? It's Miles Sanders. He got out for the year. People don't care. You don't hear about it, but he's gone. So it's just Jadon Blue, and I'm sure they signed someone from the practice squad. I don't know about. So he's a very direct handcuff, and in a world there would be a way for him to earn a role, but I don't see it based on his play or the way they've treated him.
Yeah, I'm looking here. If there's anyone else ahead of him, I mean, they drafted another rookie in the 7th, I think, but I don't. He's on IR too. So if you look at the depth chart, it really is just Javonte Williams and Jadon Blue.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, you know what? Maybe this is. I'm gonna say maybe. Maybe he's a good stash.
If he ends up as the starting running back of the Cowboys, you want him.
Yeah.
So he's someone who. This is the way I play it, right? So I've either got a spot, or if I know I'm going to lose or win a game, and the Cowboys haven't played yet, I dropped my kicker for Jadon Blue.
I can see that. Yeah.
Just because why not? You want pieces of this Dallas offense. If you have nobody in a spot or you have a spot that you can feel free to drop someone, Jadon Blue is a great stash because if you get a piece of this Dallas offense, you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope for. That's it. Otherwise, I don't see him carving out a role right now on his own.
No.
Let's go to someone who flashed early. Bashal Tutin.
I don't know.
It's
I
fair.
mean, they traded away Tank Bigsby, which says something. They also have LaQuint Allen, who's a good pass catching back.
Mhm.
I think that we're gonna see his NFL potential before we see his fantasy potential.
Yeah.
Which is to say, like he's gonna maybe be used more and like look like a good role player, but he's not gonna be relevant in fantasy. At least I don't think so.
So you had the Jaguars started off the season against Carolina, against Cincinnati, against Houston, and San Francisco. So Bashal Tutin looked really good at the start of the year, which of course was against Carolina and Cincinnati, two teams that we know you can run on.
Yeah.
As soon as they've been going against different defenses, he's looked bad. I think that this is one that's easy to say that maybe this team just has a really good running offense when they're going against bad running defenses.
Yeah.
Liam Cohen's smart enough to know just lean on the run this time. And then otherwise, just keep ETN in because he's a competent pass catcher.
Yeah.
So with Bashal, I don't think that he's going to be like a league winner by any means at this point without an injury. Even with an injury, maybe the Jaguars started off looking really strong and they're falling apart a little bit.
A little bit.
Not fully, but a little bit. They've had some good stiff competition lately. But Bashal is someone who, if he's on your waivers and you need a spot start and they're going against, let's say, Las Vegas in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
maybe throw him in there. Maybe you get a touchdown. You probably will.
He's involved enough that makes sense.
Xavier Legette. We have to talk about him. He has to be brought up because he's been doing better. And here
He's been
comes
doing
Andy
better.
Dalton.
He's been doing better. He's not a league winner.
Okay, that's fair. I can't argue with that too much. I want him to succeed. I want him to succeed.
I get it. Yeah, me too.
Can you imagine just like national commercials and everyone having to try to decipher what he's saying? It would be fun. Like it's not even like one of the like it would be super hard. He's just got such good intonation on everything he says.
Yeah, he should like do audiobooks or something.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, a Southern horror novel read by
Yeah.
Xavier Legette would just like hit so good.
Oh yeah.
Um, like imagine like in the vein of like Sinners or something.
Yeah, something like deep gothic south kind of, yeah,
Mhm,
like that.
mhm. Okay, the last names I have on this list right now. Actually, I have one name after this. I'm lying to you. Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger. I'm talking about the tight ends for the New York Giants because they're both looking a little bit more relevant than they were prior to Jackson Dart starting.
I think of a tight end wasteland that is like everyone outside the top 5. I think that they, especially Theo Johnson, I think they've looked involved enough that yeah, I don't think they're necessarily like they're not league winners in my opinion, but they're startable.
So I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how Daniel Bellinger had a better productive game this last week against the who did they lose to really bad? The Broncos.
Broncos.
And I don't think that matters much to me. I'm also more in on Theo Johnson. He's looked more involved over multiple weeks.
And
Whereas,
wasn't Bellinger like off that one touchdown?
yeah, pretty much. I just think that that's too much recency bias. So if you're choosing between the two, I would choose Theo Johnson.
Yeah.
You're chasing points with Daniel Bellinger. I haven't seen it multiple times. Theo is someone who looks like he has a connection, and they do the weird touch pass with him in near the goal line.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Braylon Allen.
I think that I really don't want anything to do with the Jets offense, but if Brees Hall is traded, then yes. I mean, he'll just have that opportunity.
Let's see. Do you know when he's back?
I think he is back this week.
So it says, okay, so 2 to 3 months rehab.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. Here's the deal. His agent is saying that there's no point in rushing back this season.
Okay, that makes sense. So, but again, yeah, I guess going with that, if Brees Hall gets traded, then there's going to be an incentive to come back to prove that you can be the alpha in this. Yeah. So it really is contingent on that.
Now, we'll talk more about the injury or not. Oh my gosh, not injuries. Trade deadline coming up next week. Um,
There is one more player I think that we didn't mention that I think might
sure.
be my league winner if I had to pick one, possibly Breshard Smith of the Chiefs.
Oh, I did skip over him. Thank you. He's on my list. I totally just passed over him.
He was pretty involved. He had 14 carries against the Raiders, one less
I
than Isaiah Pacheco.
and did he? Am I right? He had some receptions as well, so like 19 total touches or something around there, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, he had 19 total touches for over 80 yards from scrimmage.
Yeah.
Again,
Now,
against the Raiders, but
yeah, this was a particular game where the Raiders were absolutely never competitive.
yeah,
Ever not since the opening kickoff were the Raiders competitive. So this was a good time to test out the rookie. But the rookie did okay, 2.8 yards per carry. That's not exactly what you want, but the Chiefs haven't had an opportunity really to get anyone going on the ground. However,
yeah.
5 receptions for 42 yards. And let's be clear, Kareem Hunt and Pacheco look slow. They look bad. And I think Kareem Hunt got injured. So Breshard Smith is going to likely slot into that role.
Yeah.
And the Pacheco's a 7th round pick. Breshard Smith's a 7th round pick. There's no reason why they wouldn't switch over if
He,
Smith can actually show something.
he could be very inconsistent, and he really depends on the week. But I think that he, opportunity wise, has a lot of upside for
Mhm.
that league winner type of.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
maybe I'm biased here. Besides him, I think that I would probably go with like Kyle Monangai or Tez Johnson as true league winners.
Yeah, yeah. Tez Johnson just has the opportunity right now, and he's
Exactly.
succeeded with it. And people are looking at this. So Tez Johnson's someone who I'm really excited for, and there's a little bit of bias in there. I will admit that. However, he's shown it as well. And then with other than that, you just keep paying attention to injuries. I would always say if you are weak at running back and you have a spot on your bench that's maybe someone who you're never actually going to play, make sure you're churning these guys.
Mhm.
Always keep one of these dudes on your bench because you don't want to be stuck having to pay all of your fob when you could have just picked the guy up.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's always luck. It's always luck. Don't worry. There's nothing you can do to actually choose it. It's not like you're going to look at a player and be like, he's most likely to get injured. That's
yeah.
it's not how it works. But you do want to keep these guys on your bench just in the off chance that the starter gets injured, and you can then have an immediate plug and play RB1 on your team.
It was kind of like with the Cowboys running back situation being murky. It's like pick one, one
Yeah,
guy's gonna do it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our picks. We'll talk first off about what we did last week. I'm gonna go through fairly quick on my side here. My nuclear boys, Javonte Williams, that was pretty good.
Mhm.
18.8 points. It's not exactly an explosion, but it's good. And then Roma Dunze, unfortunately, that was pretty bad. 5.1 points. That was not a great week for Rome.
No, it's just
Um,
game script wasn't there.
yeah, there was some passes that were missed. I didn't feel terrible about the choice as far as the actual choice. It's unfortunate because it really didn't go very well.
Yeah.
You want to go over your nuclear boys?
Yeah, from last week. Where did I put them here? So first of all, I did whiff on Baker Mayfield. That was unexpected that he only had 11 points, I believe. It was 11 or
Mhm.
12. I mean the Lions really did wallop them. Uh, just I don't know. It's just unexpected.
It was just the game. Baker overthrew some things. If he had got that second touchdown to Tez again, both their days looks different.
Exactly. And the other one is Devontae Adams, which I definitely hit on, but I'm a little disappointed because he scored 3 touchdowns, but that only turned into 26 points because he just didn't get the yards. He was just, like I said, the red zone guy, and he's really proven that to be true. So
It's disturbing how much Aaron Rodgers has like shaped him into a red zone guy because
it
it's the same thing every single time and it works every single time. It doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. 3 touchdowns.
Um,
I woke up. It's just like woke up from the on Sunday to see he had 3 touchdowns, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have 45 points." No, I didn't, but still happy.
yeah, it's still a good game. You still got to enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Um, my gas guys, good starts gone, great starts. I had Travis Kelce, which scored 8.4. That's not very good. It's not like league ending because it's a tight end slot, but it's not great.
There's
Instead,
a
we
reason.
saw
There's
yeah.
a reason. Yeah, yeah.
There was a very clear reason they wanted to feature Rashee Rice coming back, like 100% they did, and we saw that. Quinshawn Judkins 26.4. He got 3 touchdowns. I'm counting that as a full on win. That looked great.
Huge dub.
And then Stephon Diggs 13.9. Fine game, not
Yeah,
bad.
it's good for Higgs.
Yeah, we saw them. Instead, all the touchdowns went to Booty and to Drake May himself. So it just is what it is. He had a fine receiving line. Just the touchdowns didn't go his way this game.
The luck of a draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my gas guys. My first one was Debo, who didn't play, so that just didn't really work out. Cortland Sutton, he hit. He had that fourth quarter catch, and he was just involved the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jordan Addison had a really good week against the Eagles' banged up secondary. He looks good. I mean, he's getting a lot of looks.
Jordan Addison is 100% benefiting from Justin Jefferson drawing all the coverage, and that's awesome because that'll always happen. There's no way that changes. So
he's almost. I mean, he's not quite there, but he has the potential to be better T. Higgins role.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, the gas guys. I think that went pretty well overall. I feel pretty good about those. The gut checks. I'm gonna start off mine with my absolute worst pick of all of them is Jalen Coker. I really thought that would turn into something, and he just wasn't involved. So he got activated, and it just didn't seem like he was at all part of the game plan yet. So,
but Leggett had a pretty good game though, right?
Yeah. So the theory and the idea was there, and unfortunately, I chose the wrong player. But if you listened to me and you chose Coker, that stinks. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Harold Fannin Jr. again 7.6, another meh. Tight end. I played him in my league record. It didn't feel great. Didn't feel super bad. The weather was awful, and that's what I'm going to blame it on.
It really was.
And then T. Higgins, who scored 21.6, and it wasn't anywhere near what Jamar did, but T. Higgins had himself a pretty darn good game. I feel good about that. Like if you threw T. Higgins in there, you were happy, I'm sure.
Pretty far ahead of projections. I mean, people have been benching him. People are expecting 7 points, so definitely good. My first gut check, we've already talked about it. It was Justin Fields. That was just a disaster class completely. That was just the opportunity was perfect. It's just awful. And okay, I gotta say, I've called it 2 for 2 now. I put Jonnu Smith in my gut check, and the 2 times I've done it, he's got a touchdown. And my logic each time is like, hey, I think Jonnu Smith is overdue for a touchdown, and then he gets it. So come back in a few weeks when I predict him again.
Yeah. I was thinking about this week if the Packers really might be bad against the tight ends, that he might be another good play. But I'm worried about Pat Freiermuth showing up.
He really showed up. He was good.
He looked great. But you did. Jonnu Smith did wonderful. Also, that was the tight end game from heaven.
3 of them, right? Almost 4.
Yeah, if you had DK like myself, you did not love that. But it is what it is,
Yeah.
The Bengals continue to be bad against tight ends. This is like a decade-long thing with the Bengals at this point. So my controversial sits, I said sit Ashton Genty if you can, and that would have been a wonderful choice. Ashton Genty just did awful. I think it was like 4 points with PPR, so just no good.
No good.
My second was all running backs in the Seahawks Titans game, and if I had said all running backs except for Charbonnet, I would feel very good about that. Charbonnet did have himself a game, so hope you started him. However, if you had anyone else, they all did terrible. The Seahawks are such a good team. It's disturbing.
They really are. My controversial sits was Kamari Vidal, and again, like I said, I just don't see him consistently being the guy. He was going up against the Dolphins' run defense. It's like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't have him, but if I did have him, I wouldn't have started him. So, and then everyone is like, I don't know, Chase Brown got you 10 points, which is good for Chase Brown, but like there was probably other running backs on your team you would have preferred to start over him, even though he had a good game for his standards.
I was actually really enthused by that Chase Brown game because it was 11 rushes for 108 yards. So it wasn't necessarily like the greatest fantasy game of all time because he didn't have any touchdowns and only 2 receptions. However, something about Joe Flacco turned this team into a team that has an O-line that can open up holes.
Yeah, that's true. It's just that we drafted him because of his pass catching ability, and he got
Mhm,
negative 8 yards.
We'll talk about it. So let's go ahead and give our predictions for this week.
Oh,
I'll
yes.
I'll start off with my nuclear boys here. So my nuclear boys, the first one I am going to say, and I need to pull up my week 8 schedule again because for some reason it's gone. But it is James Cook of the Buffalo Bills against the Carolina Panthers. Now the Panthers have looked a little bit better against the run as of late. However, I think that this is a game that the Bills are going to come out and they're going to dominate.
Yeah.
And I believe that James Cook is going to be a big part of that this week.
It's coming off the bye, so
It's exactly they're coming off the bye. They've had time to prepare. You know, the Bills have had some iffy games lately. And after the bye, I think they're going to want to come back and make a statement that they are still that team.
yep.
And it's James Cook. I feel pretty good about this. James Cook is someone who I think is going to have a really, really nice day. And then George Kittle. So the 49ers are going against
Texans.
the Texans. Thank you. And that's not usually the best defense to go against. However, the Texans are pretty good against the run. They have been, and I know I know I said this last week in the show when they had 2 touchdowns, but it's not like they exactly blew up as far against the run.
Hmm.
CMC has looked great last week. He really did. He really did. However, I think that against the Texans defense, they're going to need to mix it up. They can't just run the ball down their throat over and over and over again. There's too much talent on this defense. Falcons defense is good, but it's a different level of defense.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to mix it up. And I think this is where Kittle gets involved. And I think Kittle's going to have himself the game that makes you remember why he is such a good receiver.
Yeah, it's not like he just became a blocking tight end this year because before his injury, week 1, he was going off. So
And so I expect that this is the week that he comes back out and he shows it again. And you're very, very happy that you have him on your team still.
my nuclear boys. Well, first of all, Bijan Robinson going up against the Miami Dolphins run defense. I'm excited for that. Can't even fathom that. Really, I can't. I mean, look at Oh wow, that if I ever would predict a player to get 40 points in a week, that would be this week. And then I also have Rashee Rice. I mean, he just came back, was super involved in this offense. It's unfortunate because I was so high on him, and then he got the suspension, the deserved suspension. But then he came back and did what picked up exactly where he left off last year. So I really like him this week against the Commanders, who don't have a secondary. The only thing here is that without Jaden Daniels starting, the Commanders could be really bad, so they're just going to run the ball. They don't really have good running backs, so they might as well just keep passing it.
I mean, we did see this last week against the Raiders, and they still like Rashee Rice could have had 2 more touchdowns. Honestly, he really could have. There's just some missed opportunities or penalties.
Yeah,
I think they have a statement they want to make getting this dude back.
so good.
And that's one that I just I don't want to say that I was wrong on it preseason yet. I think it's a little too early, but I'm feeling like I was probably wrong on it. Do you have any more nuclear boys?
No, that's it.
Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and do my gas guys. My good starts gone great starts. I'm going with Emeka Egbuka. There's pretty obvious reasons here. So he's going to be the wide receiver 1. You do have Tej Johnson. I'm excited for him, but I don't think that really caps the upside of Emeka here. The Saints, in particular, are not very good against covering wide receivers. And Baker knows he had a bad game last game. You think he doesn't want to come out and just dominate this game and just once again prove why he deserves to be in the MVP talk?
Yep.
100%. I think Emeka is going to have an explosive game.
I agree.
And then this is the crazy one. Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals against the New York Jets. I know. However, right now, I'm feeling with Chase Brown had a great running game. I heard Zach Taylor. He said it himself. He said once the running game starts clicking, our whole offense starts clicking. He didn't give Joe Flacco any of the credit. Instead, he gave himself the running game credit. And they saw what happened last week. They looked like a competent team that actually beat a team that was in the top of their division. I think they're going to try to get this running game going, and the Jets are just in such a sorry state that I think this is where you're going to see Chase Brown score at least his second touchdown of the season.
All right, I like that logic. I think he's going to have a better game than he did against the Steelers. So, yeah.
And that's what I got. So all you.
All right, so gas guys, my first one, it's pretty simple. George Pickens, Cowboys versus Broncos, Pat Surtain, CD Lamb, George Pickens, big game. Really, that's all. Very simple.
Logic tracks.
Yeah, I mean, you start him every week, but I mean, he's a great start this week. Then I also have I got Derick Henry against the Bears run defense. I mean, and the Bears run defense has gotten better. It's clicking more, but I think Henry coming off the bye with hopefully Lamar Jackson back, like this is a get right game if he's had one all season. I don't really believe he's going to become the Derrick Henry that he was, even last year with like 35-point bomb, but like I think he's going to have his best game of the season. At least on paper, it looks like it. And then I also have T. Higgins against the Jets because he looked great last week. And if Sauce plays, same thing. Sauce cover Jamar. T. Higgins, great game. Very simple.
Love it. Yeah, that all tracks for me. We're gonna have a lot of people in this Jets and Bengals game, and that scares me a little bit because I'm gonna give you my gut checks here. And my first gut check is Mason Taylor of the New York Jets, and I hate choosing a Jet for this player. Like I hate it. But Mason Taylor, without Garrett Wilson there, is pretty much their wide receiver one, and the Bengals can't figure out how to guard a tight end for their life. They just can't do it. It has never happened. So I think Mason Taylor is going to actually do great, especially considering what the expectations are. So like Mason Taylor is someone who I would plug in over a lot of tight ends that are even starters right now.
I agree.
For this particular match.
I unfortunately did drop him for Kate Otten in my main league, but yeah, he's going to have a great week.
Who can blame you as far as season long, but this particular week it looks pretty good. The Jets are going to stink, but Mason Taylor can catch a bunch of passes.
Yeah.
Chiefs against Commanders, I have Breshard Smith. So this is where I'm saying he's going to do great. I've seen the Commanders stink against running backs 2 weeks in a row, and I don't see that getting better. When Jaden Daniels is out, it just seems to deflate the whole team. And I think Breshard Smith, after last week, they're going to keep that momentum going and try to make him a bigger piece of this offense. And I think you'll see him get opportunities, especially in high tension situations like red zone, fourth down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you're going to see him score something here, and it'll be a nice day for him. And then I'm giving an extra on this one because usually I only give 2, but I think Joe Flacco is going to have a great game as well. The only reason I put Joe Flacco in this year, we all saw what he did last week against a respectable defense. The Jets, if Sauce is out, he's going to spam Jamar Chase, and he's going to get just a bunch of points from that. So
it's the thing that, I mean, Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, and he's better than Joe Flacco, but Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are so good, they just prop up their quarterback that's not being Jake Browning. So I like it.
Yeah. I'm saying you can pick him up and play him if you need a quarterback this week, especially the bye weeks.
My first gut check. Where did he go? Okay, so my first gut check, and this one really is a gut check because it's similar. It's similar logic to Breshard Smith, but it's riskier. It's Kyle Monangai. We talked about him. I think he's getting more involved in the offense. This is really just banking on the Ravens' rush defense being so bad because we saw the Texans really get Woody Marks involved as a rookie and involved against this rush defense. So things have to break right, but I think in a desperation play, he's solid. A solid upside. And then I also have Wandale Robinson going up against the Eagles? Who's he playing?
The
Eagles, yeah. And if this logic could also go by the wayside if, Cooper DeJean and Quinion cover him. I don't know. This is truly a gut check feeling. I feel like the Eagles are going to key in on Cam Scatabo and maybe even the tight ends, and I have a gut feeling that Wandale's gonna eat.
Wonderful. I could see it happening. I could also see Cam Scatabo just going off again, regardless.
Yeah.
Scatabo is such an interesting player because I feel like defense. It doesn't matter if the defense keys in on him; he'll just headbutt 3 guys still. We watched the movie Him and talked about it. He's like that one scene with the concussion thing where he headbutts him, but as a player, that's real.
He even looked like him too. Yeah.
He did look like it was kind of crazy. Okay, so my controversial sits. I've got 2 running backs that you're not going to want to sit this week, but I think they're not going to have great games. So get ready. So my first one is Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers going against the Packers. The Packers defense, I know it hasn't, looked necessarily as dominant as we thought it might be. However, against the run, they've still only allowed, and this is season long, 459 yards all season. That's about 70 yards per game. And they've only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns. So there's just not a lot to go on there. And I don't see the Steelers having this amazing success. Jaylen Warren has looked good. I'm not out on Jaylen Warren. I just think this particular week, you should be wary.
Yeah. I mean, he gets the receptions, but he has had a couple weeks where he was going up against a hard defense and didn't perform. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And then here's one that I hate. This is the exact opposite of what I did last week, but I'm going to tell you that Quinshon Judkins is also in a bad position right now, going against the New England Patriots, who are also an amazing run defense, 540 yards allowed in total, 3 touchdowns as well. And Quinshon has been taken out of the position in hurry up and third down and 2-minute offenses. So he's not being used as their primary receiving back.
Yeah.
And that worries me. So this defense is really good against the run, and he's not catching passes. That's kind of a bad combo. You have to hope for a long touchdown, which Quinshon's possible. We did see 2 weeks ago. If he doesn't get it, he can really bomb out on you.
I mean, also they might have Dylan Gabriel pass 80 times. So for that reason,
yeah, that's ridiculous. But those are the guys. I hate the Quinshon Judkins, but I'm really like trying to pivot off him if I can this particular week.
My controversial sits. Looking at his logic, if you have a first-round rookie running back going up against the Chiefs' run defense and Ashton Genty, and he gets stifled, how is a 7th-round rookie running back with a far worse quarterback starting? How is he going to produce at all? I think Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is just definite sit. I would even start. I wouldn't, but I think Kyle Monangai is going to have a better game than JCM this week. I think there's just no upside. He doesn't catch enough passes. Jaden Daniels is not in. It's just no. I'd be surprised if he has a good game. Very surprised.
Yeah, I can 100% follow that logic.
And then my last one is Ramondre Stevenson, just because he's due for a total dud week, and they're going up against the Browns rush defense, which is also one of the best in the league. Mm-hmm. And Drake May's getting it done. There's no reason for Ramondre to be super involved, even if they're up. Don't like it.
Yeah, I can totally follow that. Yeah, so that's kind of the list. I'll post it in the details of the YouTube video and the podcast, whichever one you listen to. So if you want to see the players we're talking about, you can just see them there. Anything else you want to hit up before we call this one quits?
I think we're going to continue the trend of good Thursday night football. It's been really good for Thursday night football. Chargers Vikings will be fun.
Yeah, it's been shocking. A lot of the primetime games have actually been pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Even like the Bucks and the Lions game, that one wasn't particularly close at the end, but it looked like Baker could make a comeback. So they haven't had any like full on duds unless you're in London.
Oh. No one's watching that.
No, and thank goodness no one's watching that. All right, so with that said, good luck everyone who's listening week 8. I hope you win. And Doink out.